I apologize, it's been a minute since I last came out with an NBA video, and I know what you guys are going to say, Mike, you made 2 videos 3 days ago, but regardless, I try to get you guys a video a day on this channel, and there really hasn't been much for me to talk about except for my Los Angeles Lakers stinking it up, which we're going to do plenty on tomorrow's episode of the Laced Up podcast. But while I was out and I was moving, I got a notification that kind of baffled me for a little bit, and I'm not passing this information off as fact. I'd rather like to have a discussion about it and dissect the information that I received. So before we get to the content, we gave away $500 on my Instagram account to a follower. We're going to be doing the exact same giveaway. All you have to do is follow me on Instagram for a chance to win 500 bucks. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. I think we could all agree on one thing, and that's that traditional banks stink. They charge $35 in overdraft fees. They charge you fees for having a checking and a savings account. They don't give cash back on debit card purchases. Their apps are slow and clunky to use. They send you alerts in the mail, and they put you on hold for hours to talk to a human being, which is why I recommend Albert. Albert is completely different from any bank account that you've ever used. They are free to sign up with and super easy to use. Instead of just opening a traditional savings account and hoping that you put money into it, Albert looks at your income and expenses and sees what kind of money you can save. They will automatically move money into your savings account even if it's a few dollars at a time. Albert never charges overdraft fees ever. As a matter of fact, instead they'll spot you up to $250 whenever you need it. But most importantly, for me, you guys all know I'm a freaking dumbass, especially when it comes to managing my money, which is why Albert has something called Genius, which is a team of financial experts that will look at your situation, help you make a plan, and help you out whenever you get stuck. So click the link in the description box to download Albert today. And for a limited time, go to albert.com/TFM, and when you submit a qualifying direct deposit, you will get a free $150. Or you can just go to albert.com/TFM. To open up your checking account, submit a qualifying direct deposit, and make yourself a free $150. And thank you, Albert, for the sponsorship. Mike check 1212. What's going on, everybody? Guys, there are times where I feel like the media, or at least NBA media, is so desperate for clicks that they'll just come out with some very clever wordplay that could be factual, but isn't what we think it is. And I understand that there isn't as much drama as before. Trust me, I joined NBA YouTube at the height of the drama that there was. I mean, in 1 year, you had Zion Williamson entering the NBA, you had Russell Westbrook and James Harden joining teams with each other, you had Anthony Davis getting traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, D'Angelo Russell getting signed and traded to the Golden State Warriors before eventually getting rerouted to the Minnesota Timberwolves. In the offseason, you saw Chris Paul get traded to the Phoenix Suns, you saw Russell Westbrook get traded to the Wizards, and for the most part, you know what I'm saying, man, there's been a lot of drama, but not as much this past year. We've been able to just sit back and enjoy the game of basketball as a result of that. The only pieces of drama that have been coming up is Kyrie Irving not getting vaccinated, which isn't really as much of a thing anymore, Ben Simmons not wanting to play basketball and losing a ton of money because he doesn't want to play basketball, and the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers just don't look good this year, and Zion Williamson's injury issues. For the most part, that's been the main storylines for this year. Now, one thing I haven't heard up until now is James Harden being disgruntled with the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, originally there may have been some eyebrow raising when James Harden did not sign a contract extension with the Brooklyn Nets. Bear in mind, James Harden has a $47.4 million player option for 2022 to 2023, so he could opt in with Brooklyn next season, but we've covered this before, man. A lot of times when these star players are in a situation where they could negotiate a contract extension, they end up turning down the contract extension that was extended to them, they end up declining their player option, and then they'll sign for a significantly larger sum of money, like Chris Paul did this past year. But there's something important to note about this situation, okay? One is that Daryl Morey is obsessed with James Harden. He even thinks that James Harden is better than Michael Jordan in terms of total offense statistically. But in addition to that, we know the Ben Simmons situation has been very ugly as well, because Ben Simmons is apparently open to sitting the entire season amidst the trade rumors.
Like, to the question of, is the deal going to go down before the deadline? Like, for whatever reason, the mood among every team I've talked to is that the answer is probably yes. That something will probably happen before the deadline.
Here's the latest on Ben Simmons. Daryl Morey said in a radio interview that he was in no rush to trade Simmons, and the 76ers had discussions with the Sacramento Kings as recently as last week, according to Chris B. Haynes of Yahoo Sports. But he described it as exploratory due to due diligence. Now, Mark Stein reported that the Kings could be convinced to take on Tobias Harris's contract to facilitate a deal for Simmons. The Sixers are reportedly looking to unload Harris's contract in a Simmons trade to give themselves far more financial flexibility moving forward. Now, Philadelphia reportedly was initially looking for an all-star caliber player in return for Ben Simmons, according to Champ Charania. However, no team was willing to meet the 76ers' hefty asking price. So ultimately, nothing has changed on the Ben Simmons front. But again, Daryl Morey is super obsessed with getting James Harden. My own hunch about this rumor I'm about to give you is Daryl Morey possibly paying someone to put this out there, because it just seems very suspect. So this is coming from NBA insider Mark Stein. A move for James Harden may not be out of the question for the Philadelphia 76ers because there is quote-unquote enough noise circulating league-wide about Harden's reported openness to relocation this summer. Now, again, it's important to note that back in October, when he declined his contract extension, he reaffirmed his commitment to Brooklyn, saying, "I don't plan on leaving this organization in the situation we have, so my focus honestly is just focus on the season and then winning the championship. The contract and all that stuff will bear itself out, but my focus is going to be locked on this season." All right, man, it's time to cut the cap because I don't see any reason James Harden would leave the Brooklyn Nets. I don't see one motivation for him leaving the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, there was drama with Kyrie Irving and his vaccination status, but when the Brooklyn Nets are healthy, they are easily the best team in the Eastern Conference, and it's not particularly close. I honestly think that barring something unforeseen, barring some unfortunate injury, this is the year that the Brooklyn Nets finally win a championship. I don't see a power that could potentially ruin them in the Eastern Conference. I do think the Golden State Warriors could potentially stop them in the Western Conference, and honestly, that'd be the finals matchup of my dreams, but I don't see any reason why James Harden would want to be traded this season. Statistically, he's almost averaging a triple-double this season. He has a 22 PER. He's performing really well. He doesn't have to shoulder the entire load for the Brooklyn Nets yet. He could lean on Kevin Durant and part-time Kyrie Irving until they figure out his situation. I think what the article is indicating is if the Brooklyn Nets were to lowball James Harden, or they don't think it's worth paying a 32-year-old, or at the time he gets the contract extension, 33-year-old player a max contract, then James Harden won't sweat it, and he wouldn't mind going to a different team, most likely the Philadelphia 76ers. But the odds of an in-season trade happening where James Harden gets sent to the Philadelphia 76ers for a package based around Ben Simmons, who is by far the biggest idiot in the NBA, by the way, because if he really wanted to be traded, he would be playing to boost his trade value as opposed to sitting his ass down on a seat and losing money each and every single time he doesn't play. I don't know if the Sixers are currently finding him. I'm assuming they're currently finding him, but don't quote me on that. This is just based off of the assumption that the Sixers are finding him still. Let me know in the comment section because I'm currently not aware of that situation. I'm getting different reports about that. But in this scenario, I don't see a single motivation for James Harden to leave the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm sure all of my subscribers are smart enough to look at this and say, yo, this is a big, stinky, steamy load of cap that we are just not going to buy at this point, man. There's this report from Mark Stein saying that the Sixers will look towards the offseason when a sign and trade possibility for Brooklyn star James Harden is in play. Philadelphia tried to trade for Harden while he was with the Houston Rockets, so it makes sense as to why the Sixers would try to go for it again. And what Mark Stein said is perhaps he has been sold on a concept that executives with a growing number of rival teams say they see Daryl Morey's new preferred scenario, keeping Simmons beyond the trade deadline to exhaust every last possibility for executing a complicated sign and trade in the offseason that finally brings James Harden to Philadelphia and routes Ben Simmons to Brooklyn. So the Philadelphia 76ers have no urgency. Joel Embiid seems to be on board with the direction of this franchise, but I guess you're gonna have to wait and see what happens in the offseason. I don't see any trade possibly happening unless if there's some drama that unfolds with Brooklyn. If Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving can't stand each other behind the scenes, which doesn't seem like it's the case, then I can't imagine this happening at all. I honestly think that Daryl Morey is just paying people to put this out there, so there's a chance that maybe there could be some pressure to trade James Harden. I don't know. I can't make sense out of this, man. Maybe one of you guys can. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this. I don't buy it one bit. I think James Harden would be cool with leaving the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think it's his top priority or his top choice. I think it's more along the lines of, hey, if I get traded or if I have to sign somewhere else, I won't be that mad about it. Ultimately, I think he signs a max or a super max contract at the end of the season to stay with the Brooklyn Nets, because this is easily the greatest chance he's had to win a championship since his younger playing days with the OKC Thunder. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.